What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 2nd, 2022. A couple housekeeping things before we get started. I did drop a new Back to the Future last night, so go ahead and check that out wherever you get your podcast. The YouTube link is up. I figured something out with what I was doing wrong, so we're back to posting the videos of that if that's something you prefer as well. I know my kids sometimes like watching dad on TV, which is pretty funny. But we covered tanking and is tanking good. Talked a little bit about the Sixers process and what that looks like. So I'm anxious to get some feedback on that because you're either pro-tanking or anti-tanking. And if you are anti-tanking, I would love to know what your solution is for a team getting better that's stuck in that in-between, that purgatory, as I called it. So definitely check it out. Give it a listen. Let me know what the alternative to tanking is, or is tanking the way to go. Speaking of tanking, Flyers lost again last night. They stopped their 10-game winless streak the other night, but they lost last night to Tampa Bay 4-1, and plays right into what we've been talking about with the whole tanking idea and how we're playing for one of those top three picks. It's a pretty deep draft, solid draft, but you really this year want to hit one of those top three picks for the Flyers. So each loss gets them closer to the prize. And again, you might disagree with it, but how else are they going to get better? Let me know that. Huge game tonight for my Upper Dublin Cardinals. They take on the Imhotep Panthers. Imhotep's a charter school from Philly. They're the defending PIAA Eastern State finalists, so they were the runner-ups last year. So hopefully the undefeated Cardinals can pull off the win there. Should be a tough game. It's probably going to be their biggest test of the year, maybe other than North Penn. I'm still trying to decide what I'm going to do. Because I don't know if the game is going to be on TV yet, and they're actually playing at a neutral field, but it's only over at Wissahickon, which is not that far away from where we live. So kind of deciding, a lot's going to depend on how Thatcher's been sick. So a lot's going to depend on how he's feeling and whether I want to bring him out in the cold or whatever. But I'm pumped. One more win away from playing for a state championship next week. So go Cardinals. I'll keep you guys all posted tomorrow on how it goes. But for this day in Philly sports history, we're taking it back to 1991. One of my favorite games of that season. We talked about this game or this season on Back to the Future a few weeks ago. But 1991 was the year that Randall blew out his knee, the first game of the season, and the defense just went lights out, all worldly or otherworldly, and played incredible. So on this day, December 2nd, the Eagles traveled down to Houston on a Monday night to take on the Houston Oilers, who were known for their run-and-shoot offense. And think, for those of you who maybe don't remember how good the run-and-shoot was or how good the Oilers were, think about the greatest show on turf, Rams, minus the running game. And they had speedy receivers. Warren Moon was just a phenomenal quarterback. And basically all they did was pass. They had zero running game, and they didn't care. They were like, listen, we're going to pass 40, 50 times on you, and we're going to beat you. And a lot of times what happened was, going into the game, defenses would try to sort of slow them down rather than stop them, where they just played sort of that prevent and just never worked out. So Bud Carson tweaked what the Eagles were doing, and he went and more attack based. Like, teams were afraid to attack them because they were going to get burnt. And Bud Carson's like, F that. We're attacking. And he changed up the defensive alignment and everything. But this game was known as the House of Pain game. So the Astrodome at the time was known as the House of Pain because of just how incredible that Oilers run-and-shoot offense was. And they just were dominant. And it was basically a track meet. Just like the greatest show on turf, when they played inside the RCA Dome, they looked like they were faster. Same thing happened in the Astrodome for the Oilers. They just looked faster. They played well at home. I believe they were undefeated that season going into this game at home. And it was a huge Monday Night Football. You had basically, it's like Gorilla Monsoon would say, you have the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, and what's going to win. And I always go back to that Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. But and that's what it was. You had the Eagles defense, the number one defense in the league, versus the number one offense, and who was going to win? Well, Bud Carson made sure it was the defense. So the Eagles went down there, beat the Oilers 13-6, and completely shut them down. And part of Bud Carson's tweaks, again, was the attacking. But one of their best players, Seth Joyner, had the flu going into that game. So that's definitely going to make it tough. But Seth Joyner only went out, had 8 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 recoveries, 2 sacks. The Eagles knocked out Ernest Givens. Wes Hopkins broke his nose, which imagine how hard you have to get hit with a helmet on to have your nose broken. And that basically, to me, sums up that 91 Eagles defense. You had guys hitting so hard that they're breaking cats' noses with helmets on. They knocked out Drew Hill, not the band, the receiver, also out of the game because they were just came in and they were just we're stopping this run and shoot offense and whatnot. And what I think was the motivating factor is prior to the game, Haywood Jeffries, the third receiver, basically said there is not a defense out there that can stop us. And Bud Carson and that 91 Eagles defense, Reggie, Jerome, Seth, all those guys said, excuse me, we're going to stop you. They held that offense that was the top scoring, top yards, whatever. And again, I don't know for sure the specifics on the stats, but they were the best offense in the league right there in that year. And they held them to 2 field goals and 247 yards. Now, think about that. Imagine the greatest show on turf. Like, think back to that one NFC Championship game when they played Tampa Bay and it was like 9-7 or 9-6. Like, that's basically what the Eagles did to them. The difference is the Eagles started Jim McMahon at quarterback, who I think ended up getting hurt. Jeff Kemp was the quarterback for the Eagles. Jeff Kemp. Anybody know what Jeff Kemp's doing today? Yeah, me neither. But he did throw a 21-yard touchdown pass to Keith Jackson, which is the difference in the game. It actually was the Eagles' 5th straight win. They kind of went on a little bit of a run, and we know they ultimately fell short. Like, it was one of the few times I've ever seen a 10-6, back then anyway, a 10-6 team not make the playoffs. And it just was mind-blowing that they were starting guys like Jeff Kemp and Pat Ryan at quarterback that year. So, and the reason it's called the House of Pain game is Jerome Brown in his post-game interview. God love him. I wish he didn't die because he would have been so much fun over the years. But they asked him about the game. He's like, House of Pain. He's like, they brought the house, we brought the pain. And that just was, to me, that epitomizes that 91 Eagles defense. You got guys hitting people so hard they're breaking their nose with helmets on. Jerome Brown is cocky as ever, talking about they brought the house, we brought the pain. And unfortunately, that team didn't make the playoffs, and we couldn't see what they could have done when the game actually slows down and becomes more about the defense. But on this day in 1991, it was the House of Pain game. Eagles go down to Houston on Monday night, beat the Oilers 13-6, and basically stop the run and shoot. They shoot down the run and shoot, but good times. Jerome Brown with the quote of the night. Seth Joyner with an all-world game with the flu. I'm not going to put it up there with Michael Jordan's flu game, but, I mean, to play a NFL defense where he was the kind of the focal point of Bud Carson's scheme that day with the flu, and to play like that, pretty damn good. So let's go Upper Dublin Cardinals. Hopefully we are playing for the state title next week. Go have yourselves a Friday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.